Okay, so now we're on limb number 7, which is a very important limb. Everything that you've done so far comes together here in being able to meditate. Or I say, Diana, what do you say? How do you pronounce that?
Dhyan.
Dhyan. I never use that. I never use dhyan in talking about meditation. I just say meditation. So dhyan.
Few people know.
So say it again.
Dhyan.
Dhyan. Okay.
It's because usually the last A they omit.
That's okay. Oh, dhyan. Oh, I get it.
Dhyan.
All right. So what do you have to say at this 7th limb of meditation, where now you're, and I want to say that, like for example, in the modern yoga world, is that asana is, or asana is, people believe it's the yoga class that they're going to, is the asana in meditation is that it's a seated meditation. The whole point is to be able to sit and meditate, and that is the ultimate posture that you're actually looking for. So the other movement is actually to release you so that you can sit. Is that true?
Exactly.
Okay. So,
and you're going to sit for a long time.
Yeah, and I just want to make
centuries.
I want to make that point. Is all of that is leading to here. The 3rd step is actually leading to the meditation. That is the point.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do you have to say about meditation? How does this all come together for you in all the other steps? And what would you say to your modern yogi about meditation?
So I would say that now your visualization has been completed in the previous step, the Dharan stage, and now you're meditating on that visualized form.
Okay.
So, and you're just like observing the different aspects, of the body and what you're visualizing, and in that way.
So visualizing on the body of source.
Yes.
What you're saying, and you're actually seeing it as like a humanoid-looking body.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, but in a different tradition, when they might, like Advaita school, for example, they'll more just focus on how they're being non-separate from everything else, and in that way there's not anything they're really seeing, and it's kind of a very abstract concept, because in that way they supposedly lose their own individuality and merge like with the all, and actually they're supposed to not even have the experience of self anymore.
What discipline are you talking about?
This is like Advaita.
Yeah,
these are monists. They say that actually there's just one undifferentiated spiritual energy.
Yes.
And that all things, varieties, are just apparent
qualities of the whole.
They don't actually exist. They're just apparitions.
Yes.
They just appear to be varieties, but actually everything is just one undifferentiated spiritual energy.
Yeah, I'm more on that line, but not exactly. It's just that I feel source, but I still have my individualizedness.
No, but they don't feel that. They feel that even the idea that I am me is also just an illusion.
Well,
actually, there's no me.
To a degree that it is, but what's the point then? So then you just become, source.
There's no sentience actually even.
Okay. No, I believe in sentient beings, so I am a sentient being. Okay, but I think it's taking it a little bit far, and it neutralizes everything. I know that for me it loses purpose or a point.
It is, but that's what they would visualize then.
Okay, no, but all to each to their own. That's just not what I do. But the thing that I like about what you're saying is there's parts of that is my experience. Is that it is more of an energetic feeling. It is that it contained in one moment in a constant feedback is my experience of self and my experience of everything as everything is, or source, and it's one thing. And it feeds each other, and at any moment I can have a personal thought, or at any moment I can go directly back to just being source. But they are two things, and they are sentient, and it is consciousness, and it is creation. And that what it comes down to me is that I am creator and creation. And the only difference in Course in Miracles view, most of my speaking of this comes from the Course in Miracles, is that the only difference between myself and God is that God created me, but I didn't create God. So it's the Atman and the, I guess, Brahma, is that there's the ocean and the drop of the drop, and that they both have the same qualities. But one is very powerful. I mean, it's a tsunami that can be created with that force of of water, and that the drop, even though it has the same qualities, doesn't have that force.
Can't do that.
Right, but in a second it can drop into the ocean and then pop back out again.
Yeah.
So that's my analogy for that.
Yeah. No, I kind of share the same view.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like that. So then depending on your preference of meditation or visualization,
Yes.
then that's what you're meditating on. And then actually, and where the Samadhi comes in, which is the eighth limb, is when that meditation becomes completely uninterrupted. And then you're in complete trance.
Yes.
And what happens then is you actually carry that, so in a kind of a modern sense, like that we can relate to it, it's you actually, whatever you're doing, you're completely in sync with Source and in union and in conversation consistently.
Yes.
And there's never a moment where that is not there.
Yes.
So in
that's
that,
where the trance part comes from.
Yeah.
I've never heard anybody talk about it as trance before. I've heard people talk about trance, but not at this particular time. So
you're in trance with Source.
Yes, because it's so seamless that you're just there and for so long, and it isn't a struggle of popping in and out. That you kind of become that. It's trance-like. That's the way I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's blissful. That's the other part.
Yeah, it's complete.
You know, I've experienced bliss. Yeah. Okay, but it's not for me. I don't. How long can you sit in the blissfulness of it? Like that. When you've been in meditation long enough and you start having experiences of blissfulness, in the beginning it's like a moment here and a moment there, and maybe you lose yourself for who knows how long. That's really an interesting experience the first time that happens, and then you pop back, and that it was timeless, but you know that you were gone for a while. That the first time you do that is that you kind of fall in that blissfulness. It's a little bit kind of like it's such a new experience. It kind of takes you back.
It feels amazing. It's
it does feel amazing as well. But it's the oddness when you suddenly pop out into individuality again. And, you know, and it's a little bit jarring to realize that you were gone from your normal reality.
Yeah. Well, I would say I've been practicing, Bhakti Yoga process for 6 years now. And I'd say the last 6 months I've actually consistently been experiencing that.
In your walking around as well.
In my walking around, in dealing with people, in my meditation, every moment.
And I do have that experience of you, by the way. You do. No, but you really are light and caring and consistent and joyous in all the things that you do. So it's really like it's observable for me as well. My practice is less palpable than yours. Is that mine in my meditation, when I'm going inside, it's fairly seamless and easy to get there, but I haven't translated it into my day as well at all. And I think it's the devotional part of it, I think, is really the anchor for that. You're so devotional in your service to other people. It's so easy for you. It's just a natural expression of what you do. I think really helps one stay in that blissful state, is what I think. I'm looking at this devotional aspect to it, which is another level of the things you need to give up. There's stuff that the ego appears like there's some things you need to give up, and there's some work to do. There's definitely some work for me to do in that.
Yeah, it is. That's the advantage you have of actually having a personal visualization of Source. Because, like, it's very easy for me to do something for my friends and people that are dear to me.
Yes.
It's just very natural. But if you just have this energy, and how do you relate to that?
Oh, but they are the energy as well. It's just the energy.
No, they are, but because they're not a person, because you're not seeing them as a person with also desires and likes and dislikes. How do you relate? How do you exchange with service and love?
The friends and the people that I care about, like you said, it's really easy to be devotional to them in certain ways and in great ways. It's everybody else I don't have that kind of connection with. Just walking especially somebody that's behaving badly. You get somebody that's behaving badly, and I'm no longer seeing them as Source. That's for sure. Something else kicks in, and I think you're better at that. I think you're a lot better at that, frankly.
So then maybe that would then still be the process of dhyan, the meditation, where you're still practicing the meditation, but it's not consistent. When you get to the Samadhi, you're able to see everyone and everybody as equal.
Oh yeah, I believe that they're equal, but there's kind of what I would call a distinction between my meditative self and my everyday walking around to the grocery store self. And there is a big difference between the two of them. And I think that devotional part really, that you're able to be much more mindful about, seeing them as that. Seeing them as source and seeing them. I know everybody's one. I know everybody's whole. I know everybody is that we're the same.
It's a matter of realization.
Different. It's a matter of actualization and realization in those moments.
Not just theoretical.
Yeah. Then it's not even a theory.
Yeah.
When somebody's got in my way and is and somebody's being really disrespectful and mindless about that, they stopped me for a whole 5 seconds from getting my tinned goods. It's not even theoretical in that moment. Is that I have no experience whatsoever of them being source. Sometimes, not all the time, obviously, and it's subjective to certain days and moods and that kind of stuff. But it's true. So because you seem to be much more mindful of it, what are you seeing? I mean, do you ever? Are you in the grocery store? I'm assuming you go to a grocery store or somewhere. You go to a store, and that you. What happens when is your old ego still partly there, holding space and judging people that are behaving badly? Do you still have that experience at all? Not at all. No. Wow. I'm hugging you on the inside right now. I can feel it. Well, that's really amazing, and that's really for me to be, and I think most people in the modern yoga world, that's an important distinction of that I think a lot of us have some peace and some bliss in our meditative world, and even how we see that everything is everything and that we're part of it and they're part of it. But being able to live it all the time is the place that I'm still working on. So I think I need to come to your class, which is going to be on Tuesday. No, I'm kidding. So what else do you have to say about the distinctions of meditation and Samadhi or bliss?
I would say once you get to the platform of Samadhi, one is completely on a spiritual platform, but that doesn't mean you can't act and function in this world.
Yeah.
Which usually many people have this idea of like being detached means you can't even, be a proper husband or wife anymore. You can't keep your job or things like that.
Yeah, you need to go live, in a forest and wait for berries to fall in the tree into your cup.
But it doesn't mean that. It is actually, it's just, as we were discussing, it's just your consciousness has changed. And you're seeing everything for what it is. Like Maya, the word Maya, which usually is translated as illusion, actually means it's not what it appears to be. So we experience.
What is the difference between not as it appears to be and illusion?
It is because if you see something and you think it's something else, then you're in illusion.
Yes.
Because it means you're in a state of ignorance.
Oh, you're saying it's a symptom, is what you're saying, as opposed to the act is not seeing things as they are.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. Well, that makes sense.
And that's because you're in illusion. So they say you're in Maya. You can
yes.
even say.
Yeah.
So it's not what it appears to be. For example, if you see an object and you think, and it has this function, but you think it's supposed to do something else, and you try and use it for that, then things go wrong because it's not meant for that. So when we're in Maya, that means we're looking at this reality, and we think it's something else.
Yes.
And what we think it is, we think it's meant for us, and we think it can make us happy. But that's illusion. It can't.
Oh, it can't make me happy. It can certainly make me angry, though.
It can give you a little bit of happiness.
I'm kidding.
Of course. Some happiness is there because that just indicates that happiness exists.
Yes.
But this thing is not meant to be used like that.
Yeah, it's not subjective. It's actually consistently blissful as opposed to all that other stuff is things that you're making up. So, and that is the teaching and that is the learning. Yeah. That is what we're supposed to be doing, is that there's not a place that we're supposed to be. There's just know that you're on a journey, and if you're on a journey, and that hopefully if you're conscious to it, then it's about increasingly having more joy, increasingly, which means being more conscious, which means be clearer, which means be understanding the nature of human condition.
And then in the Bhakti tradition, that relates to you seeing everything as being meant to be engaged in the loving service of Source, because everything is
meant to be engaged in the loving service of Source.
And that's everything's constitutional position. So even when I see
what do you mean
myself,
everything is constitutional position?
It means that that's what it's meant for. That's
what everything is as it should be.
That's its purpose.
And what's going on there? Yeah, I understand.
So the purpose of everything is to be engaged. That's what yoga means. To have union, to be linked.
Yes.
And interesting enough, the word religion actually has the Latin, it's a derivative from the Latin word relego, which means to reconnect or to reunite, which is yoga.
Yes.
It's exactly what yoga means.
Yes.
So it's interesting to see how the word religion actually
got changed to something else.
But originally it actually meant yoga, to have union,
to
reconnect. So you reconnect yourself, you connect all the energy, but by your consciousness, by seeing it in connection to...
Like logos is just an interesting comparison of Greek root words. Like dialogue, it comes from dialogos. Logos means truth, and or meaning. So it's through truth, like conversations that are through truth. As opposed to debate, which is that literally means to beat down.
To beat down.
That's the difference of those two. So what were you saying? So say that religion was to what?
It's supposed to reunite.
Yeah, but
us with source.
What's the Greek again? I'm sorry.
Relego.
Lego.
Yeah.
And Lego was to connect or
to link or to unite.
To link and to connect. Okay.
Well, that's one kind of explanation of the root of religion, the Latin root. And then there's another word which I can't recall now, but which means more or less the same. I think you also mentioned it, through truth and divination, not through argument and...
Yes.
And it's by revelation.
Yes.
So interesting to see how this connection of yoga is there. So that means, and how you're connecting everything back to source is by your consciousness. By seeing, for one, that everything is already connected.
Yes.
And just from our consciousness, we see it as disconnected.
Yes.
So by a change of heart, we're seeing everything is connected to source, and then we relate to it as being meant for source, and then we engage it in that way.
Yes. Well, you don't have a choice.
So externally, it seems like you're doing the same. Like, for example, you're still going to work, you're still driving your car, you're still going grocery shopping, but because your consciousness has changed, the purpose behind doing that is completely different than other people.
Yes.
And in that way, you're actually not existing on this material platform anymore.
Yes.
Because your consciousness is in union with Source perfectly. And this is where you have perfect union with them, but you still have your own individuality existence at the same time, which is like a bit of a paradox, as you say. So then your grocery shopping becomes a sacred activity, not just some mundane kind of thing that you don't need to think about.
Things are the way that they're supposed to be. Yeah. Everything is as it is.
And in my opinion, if I kind of just relate it to the Revelations where they talk about the rapture, is for me that's what that means. Is that because the way they describe it is that like a thief in the night, and then people will disappear, and what happens is now you connect, your consciousness has changed and you're connected to source, and every action you do is sacred, but you're still going by groceries like everybody else. So from externally you look the same, but actually you're not, and no one can tell the difference except another transcendentalist. And in that way you've actually been raptured away, because you're not actually acting on the material platform anymore.
Absolutely true.
Even though for now your consciousness is still connected to this body, but your consciousness is actually not on the material plane.
So let's have a practical
does that make sense though?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Yes, it makes perfect sense. Now, to be able to use it, because everything's about practice for me. If you're going to be able to make these changes, you need a practice. So when you go, for example, grocery shopping, and these are modern world yogis like myself, is that what is the, how do you make grocery shopping sacred? What are you focused on in how do you interpret it? How are you feeling it? What are you looking at to be able to, your breath is sacred, you're moving around is sacred, that you're doing, this is what you need to be doing in this moment, so it has to be sacred because you're doing it and you need to be doing it. So how are you interacting with the, aisles and shopkeepers and other customers? What is your experience of, how are you looking at these customers, for example, that's sacred?
You're seeing them as part and parcels of the source.
You just see them as source, and that you're going...
But seeing them means you actually, it's by realization, not by theoretical application.
No,
but it starts...
Theories never is not practice.
But it starts with getting theoretical knowledge.
Right.
It starts by utilizing your intelligence. It starts by having a lifestyle which supports more acute mental faculties.
Yes.
So that you can understand these more subtleties of reality. And then that also goes with a daily spiritual routine.
Yes.
Which gives you that spiritual energy so that you get to realize.
Yes.
So it's also a process. So it's like, there's no trick to it. There's no technique.
No, I'm not looking for a trick. But there is. But you are focused on something. is that, like in the safety of my own space and looking inside and knowing that I'm connected to everything is really easy to be blissful and to know that everything is source. I know that not only intellectually, therefore I can invest in it emotionally and I can see it. So then I get caught into this everyday world. So, and I think other people do as well. That's why I'm kind of keep focusing on this. When you go to the, I'm at the studio. I'm at, with people that I love. It's really easy to see them as source. Okay, so, and that I'm doing things that I love. Really easy to see them as source. Then I'm doing something that maybe I don't love. Something that's, an errand. I'm not seeing the fact that you have an errand is an issue, as opposed to that I just need to do the next thing that I need to do, which is just more source and is more and can be just as blissful as the things that I like. So there might be some things that I'm not really. It's not so easy to pull source out of fluorescent lights, rows of cans, and some people that are maybe slightly unconscious, and that my ego self might find a little bit annoying. So. For me, I actually have to go to, if there's a reminder that needs to occur. There's a reminder of, okay, like I'm going to start doing this. I'll report back.
Here's a nice reminder. It's not about me. Just remind, it's not about me and what I want and what I like.
Yes, that is
I am
the
not
key.
Important.
Yes, keep going.
So why should I become upset?
Yes.
It's not about me.
So then what is it about?
It's about source. And it's about loving source.
And so I'm just, this is what the creation is at the moment. So I'm going to love what this experience is. I think it's so much easier.
And if you see life as a school of love as opposed to a prison, then every moment you can see as an opportunity to learn how to love.
Now that's a practice. Yeah. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
And that's a meditation too. So that's also dhyan. That's a meditation which you're carrying into every day.
Well,
and when you see people, and the way I see people, whatever anybody ever does, is either a cry for love or an expression of love.
Yes.
So then I see it like that. Either they need more love or they're radiating love.
Yes.
And whatever it is, it's meant for me to learn something from.
Yes.
And to improve myself so that I can actually come to the realization that I have love and I have an infinite capacity to give love.
Yes.
And it's trying to connect me to that. And then I try to see, okay, how I can learn from this moment now.
Sure. Because, the difference between, I think it's easier to... based on where we are societally, if I'm in nature and I find some berries, and the joy of actually finding those berries and picking those berries and taking those berries, back home, and probably to share with others, is so much easier to see the sacredness in that. Going to a square building with fluorescent lights and grumpy shopkeepers and grumpy customers and then seeing that as an opportunity of how I can love source. And feel the love from source is I have to practice at that a little bit more.
Maybe source is saying we need to become more expert at loving.
Yes, I do think that is what source is saying.
And there's a perfect opportunity to practice it.
And that is a perfect... I'm going to get back to you about how well I'm doing with that. I'm actually serious. And I thank you very much for sitting with me and being able to teach me, what it is that you see and do, and listen to me and value the things that I actually have to say and contribute. So it's really been amazing to sit with you.
It was incredible.
I thank you very much.
Thank you also, Graham.
Cool.